Start here. Okay,
Hello.
today is January 2nd, 2013. My name's Mark Neenan. This is my mom and dad, Ned and Evalyn Neenan.
He's Ned. And I'm Evelyn.
So we're here to ask a few questions. My wife Melody is here with me.
Hey, I'm in here.
So if she thinks of any good questions to interject here at any time, she sure can. Okay, so you guys, let's start with where you were born and what year, dates, that kind of thing.
May 21st, 1935, in Chatham, Ohio.
Chatham.
Home.
At home.
At home. Okay, and before we get to your family, Dad?
I was born the 10th of October, 1934, in Bradford, Pennsylvania.
In a hospital or at home?
Hospital.
In a hospital. Okay. And Mom, tell us a little bit about your family.
Well, there was 15 of us. There was
Sure.
Can you
8 boys.
8 boys.
7 girls.
7 girls.
And right now there's 6 of us left.
Wow.
And I'm the oldest lady.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Betty
And
just
I will be 78 this year in May.
Wow. And your mom and dad's name?
Dorothy, she didn't have a middle name, and William Hall Sr.
What was William Hall Sr. and what was your mom's maiden name?
Myers.
Myers. Okay.
Dorothy Myers.
Dorothy Myers. And Dad?
where do I start with? Mom?
Just your family. Anything about your family? Your
Okay,
parents'
I
name?
had 3 sisters, Nessa, Noreen, and Sally.
You're the
in that
second.
order.
You're the second born?
Yes. Yeah. Nessa is 4 years older than I am, but the 2 girls are about 8 to 10 years younger
Right.
than I am.
Right.
So there's quite a split difference. And my dad's name is Alfred Martin, and he hated the name Martin, so it was always Alfred Neenan. And Hazel Louise Neenan, and her maiden name was Sherwood.
Okay, so she was a Sherwood. Okay. And
Hey Mel, you can turn them fans on if you want
your parents were...
to. Over there.
Got one there,
Well, we can't cut any of this
And one
out.
over there.
straight across the room to the wall. Go ahead.
This is really an
Mother,
interruption,
you're-
Melody.
Interrupting here.
Oh, okay.
Jesus. It wasn't Melody, it was her mother, or your mother.
So were your parents married in Ohio or Pennsylvania?
Mine?
Yeah. Do you know
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania?
New York.
Oh, they were married in New York.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they'd gone into New York to get married.
Okay. And you lived in Pennsylvania how long?
Oh, till I was in the 2nd grade.
And you guys moved to Ohio,
Mhm.
to Spencer.
Yes, we moved to Spencer. No, we moved to Lodi, and I lived in Lodi till I was in the 6th grade. Then I moved to Spencer, and that's where I graduated from.
So you, your parents,
Born in probably Medina at that time. I'm sure that's where they got married.
got married and
And I lived there all my life.
right. When you graduated from high school, did they still have a place in Chatham then? When you graduated, or had they moved
Yeah.
to Lodi yet?
No, they were still in Chatham.
Yeah, it
And
was
then
just
they
moved to
traded.
different.
My brother had a house in Lodi, so they traded houses with Mom and Dad, and they went down there to Lodi to
Okay.
live in that house.
Okay. And then, so you graduated from what high school? Chatham?
Lodi. I
Lodi.
had to go to Lodi.
Lodi High School?
They did away with the school
Charter.
charter, or
Yeah. And you graduated from Spencer High
Yes.
School? Okay. And you guys met how?
Let's see, I was with my friend Henry Goring. His girlfriend worked at an Isley restaurant, and he said he was going down and see her, and we were going to do something. And we went in, and Evelyn was working with her. So we ended up talking with MBS, and then we ended up going then to a drive-in theater to a movie that night. And I made a date with her for the following Saturday night. Because I was working nights.
So you were out of school?
Oh yeah, I was a couple years out of
he
school
had gone to college.
for 1 year. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you were still in school?
No.
No, you were out of school.
Well, yeah, I was still in school.
So what time of year was this? Spring?
Summertime.
So school was just getting out, or?
Well, I'd say school was out for
Yeah.
the year, and you probably.
Yeah.
No, I watched you graduate
Yeah,
with
you
Chuck.
watched me graduate.
So it was right at the end of school, May or
Yeah.
June,
Yeah.
somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Oh, I used to come to school and pick you up, and you skip school.
What? You skipped school, Mom?
Ask her how many days, Mark.
I don't remember.
Holy!
How about
Hey.
52?
I would have got
Not that
panned
many.
for that.
32 days?
No.
Yes,
Well-
it was.
What?
Hey, I graduated salutatorian.
There's only 2 people in our graduating class.
You didn't have to tell
Holy
that.
cow!
Well, you want
Well,
to-
you
you
tell
want
all the
to-
stories that you did in school.
I did
We don't
too.
have enough film on that
No,
camera
we don't.
to tell all those stories. Are you kidding me?
I have never heard that.
I hadn't first
Well,
right
hey,
there, Melody.
There's a lot of things we heard about you kids, like hanging
And
Dean
half
over
of them
the
were
stairs.
true,
I asked
Mom.
Dean the other day, I said, was that really true?
Yes, absolutely.
I can't believe you guys
Can you
did
see
that.
what's under there? Christ, we'd have dropped there and you'd have been dead.
Yeah.
Good thing y'all didn't come out screaming.
Okay, so you guys met sometime. What year would that have been?
That was
53.
53. Yeah, because
53?
we got married in April 17th of 54.
Okay, so you only dated. When did
Oh,
you get?
It was a good year.
Yeah.
About a year. So did you get engaged before you got married, or you just
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Got engaged at
Christmas time.
Christmas.
Christmas? Okay, and then got married in April of '54.
Yeah.
Wow. So next year is how many? 54 to 14 is
59
59
in April.
in April.
60 the next year.
yeah. 59 this year, 60 next year.
Yeah.
Wow.
Let's go somewhere.
Wow.
I can feel a trip coming.
So you guys, when you first got married, then what?
Lakeland.
We
Well,
lived with Grandma and Grandpa Neenan on
Spencer,
the other side of that house. And we
Okay.
paid $50 a month to live there.
$50
See,
a
he
month.
had rented that previously to a school teacher who moved out. And then
Well,
when
Nessa
we.
lived there.
Yeah,
Well, we did.
yeah, I was going to say that, but you keep cutting
so you rented from your mom and dad and stayed there how long, do you think?
Well, Cindy was born there,
Wow.
and she was probably, I think your mom and dad moved to Kentucky, and Cindy was about a year and a half old, I
Mhm.
think.
And then Ron and
Nessa
Nessa
moved,
moved in.
bought the house.
They bought the house.
So, and what were you doing for work when you guys got married then?
Ooh, wow. I was working at Lear Romick in Leary, doing janitorial. I worked for basically we did just jack of all trades. You fixed anything that went off. But I was working a night shift. Something would go wrong somewhere, we'd go and fix it. And I was apprenticed then to an electrician, plumber,
Oh, okay.
that type of work.
Ah.
And I had, after I graduated, I went to Ohio Farmers Insurance Company and was working there, and then,
He didn't ask you. Then I ended up there because I was working nights. So I didn't
Oh.
want to be working nights when we got married.
Okay.
So I got a job at that Ohio Farmers Insurance Company. Not because she was there, my dad got me the job. A little bit of
Okay.
pull.
It was the same place, huh?
yeah.
Oh, wow.
So
So you're-
we would, we had 2 or 3 other ladies that rode with us that worked over at this
Yeah.
insurance company.
and the insurance company's located where?
Leroy, Ohio, Westfield.
How far away was that from Spencer?
Oh, 15 miles.
Oh, okay. So you guys drove there together every day?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh. And how long did that go on?
Well, after Cindy was born,
She never went back.
And Cindy was born in 55?
Mhm.
Okay. So, how long did you work there, Dad?
Oh, probably 4 years. And I took a job with an insurance company selling insurance, life insurance and health insurance. I didn't like that. I never liked going knocking on doors to meet people and all this and that. I did that about 3 or 4 years. And then I got a job with a printing company. And then that's what I pretty much stayed in the rest of my life.
Okay, and what where was that at when you first started printing?
Medina, Ohio.
And do you remember who,
Gal Printing Company.
and how long did you work there, do you think?
Probably a couple of years, and then I had an opportunity I learned to run a web press. I was one of the first pressmen in Ohio. It was everything was new web, offset printing. And so I could have gone anywhere. And I had a job offer, and I took the one in Jefferson. Because I was working 7 days a week where we were there. We just kept getting busier and busier. And I hated it. And then that little Johnny Ridgway drowned.
Oh, okay.
And I went down with his father and stayed with him for about 48 hours while they were looking for his body. And he kept saying, I didn't spend enough time with my boy. Well, I wouldn't spend enough time with you kids either. And I come home and told Evelyn, I'm leaving. We're going somewhere else. I went in and asked for just regular, and the guy said, man, you're going to have to work the way we're working. So then I started looking for a job and got that one in Jefferson.
So, let's see, do you remember what year that was?
Dean
65.
Yeah.
1965. Dean was a couple years old.
Right, yeah, I was going to say, I was pretty young. I think I was first
That's
grade.
when I lost the baby.
The same
About 2
2
months.
weeks
2 months.
before I left. Honey, I
Or
was
maybe it was
2 weeks.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I went up there feeling terrible. She had just lost the baby, and
Oh.
I had to start up there because they brought the press in,
Oh.
and they had nobody to do anything. So, and I
Holy.
signed a deal with them to go up there. So I had to leave. And
I don't remember
Yeah,
any
we
of that.
had, do you
No,
remember
you
the
wouldn't.
Voorhees?
Yeah.
Well, Maud and Ron, they come over and helped us move. We rented a truck, and Ron and your dad and Tom, you went in the truck, and Maud and I went in our station wagon.
Mhm.
That's the way we went to Jefferson with
Yeah.
our stuff.
yeah, but I stayed up there
Yeah,
2 weeks just looking for a house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't find any houses to rent. And then finally, that one gentleman that was across from us,
Mr. Elliott.
And we spent,
Mr. Elliott. Yeah, I went in and seen him, and he had about 4 empty homes, but he wouldn't rent them. And then him and I got to talking, and he said, "Why did you move up here?" And I said, "Well, trout fish in Pennsylvania and stuff like that." He said, "Oh, I love that." And we got to talking it, and he liked it so much. And he said he called me back after I got back home and said, "Hey, I'll let you have one of my homes," because I couldn't find it.
Yeah.
So I called him and said, "Hey, I got a home."
Well, when we moved, that was from Chippewa Lake.
yeah.
Well, do you remember when we moved to Chippewa Lake? 'Cause I don't remember
Well,
Mark, you were born there.
You were born in
when we
Glory
lived
Glens,
in, okay,
and that was in 58.
58.
58.
And we lived
Yeah.
there till Dean was 3
Till we
years-
moved.
Yeah,
Then.
We
till
bought that
Dean was
home in
3
there.
years old.
And we bought a home on land contract, $15,000. and
Oh, the
we
one
paid
in Chippewa Lake
yeah.
down there? Oh.
And paid $1,000 down. In fact, we borrowed like 400 of it. I had 600. We borrowed 400 from one of her sisters and paid them back over the next so many months. But we had to have $1,000 down. On a land contract, if you know, you just make a monthly payment. If you miss a payment, you can lose everything. But we never did, and he was a nice old guy. He wouldn't have never done it anyhow.
So you sold it when you moved?
Yeah, we sold it when we moved, and we made enough money to put down on the home in Jefferson.
Yeah.
Okay, so you said you paid 15 for the one in
Yeah,
Chippewa Lake. Do you remember what the one cost in Jefferson?
sure do. 13,500.
So it was less than the one in
Yeah, and got yeah
a lot
and-
bigger too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
I,
the real estate agent was Mr. David,
Yeah.
and he knew us real well. And when he said, "I got a home I think you'd like," and he took us out and showed it to us, and we came out in the car, and he said, "Well, do you like it?" And then we said, "Oh, I love it." He said, "Well, I don't even know the price she wants." And he come back out the car, and he said, "You're not going to believe this, but she only wants 13,500. He said, "Now, I didn't say anything to her. She could have got." Well, the house was in. They have bankers come out and evaluate. They evaluated it at around $20,000, so that it was so much more valuable to the bank that I didn't have to hardly. They would take like $1,000 or $1,500 down payment.
Wow.
Because it was just like giving them enough that all I had left
Yeah.
was to pay was $10,000
Yeah.
on a $20,000 home. So they left us, let's have it for that. We were making, what, 100 and
I found a book the
Yeah.
other day, $125 a month.
payments all we paid on
But we
Wow.
would make more,
Yeah.
higher
it.
payment than it
And
took
we'd make
down.
more, and then we added that garage
Garage.
and that little carport.
I remember when we had the well redug
Yep.
or
Yeah,
repiped or whatever.
yeah.
But those people, her husband, he had gotten a job in Michigan, wasn't it? So they needed to sell the house.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, he worked for Horner,
Oh, okay.
Horner Waldorf
Oh.
down there.
Yeah.
Got
so they
transferred.
wanted
yeah.
to sell her.
They just wanted out, they heard. And it was probably more than what they paid for.
Right.
So we sold it in about what,
Yeah, I was
15
gonna ask
years.
you.
We left there in '81.
And we sold it for $54,000.
Wow.
So we made, yeah, we had a nice little chunk then to go down to Louisiana with. And when
Right.
we went down and bought that home, we reinvested that money, 37,000, in a bank down in Louisiana at 17% interest
At that
for
time.
2.5 years.
Jimmy
And we-
Carter was
And we
president.
come out of it with about 50,000. And in the meantime, we had another 30 that we put down on the home down there that the lady wanted like 90-some thousand, and we offered her 67, and she wanted to move to Hawaii, so she took it, the deal, and she even gave us a deal that we could, I said if we paid off the rest of that within 3 years, would she not charge us interest on the money? She was in such a want to get out. She said yes. Well, Ella and I never, that money was in the bank. But her and I, with getting, both of us got a job, and we paid that off in 3 years, the 30-some thousand ourselves. We just, every money we had, we went and paid her. So by the time we went to the lawyer to make the final payment, we'd already paid it off.
Wow.
So when we got that money out of the bank down there, we'd roll it over into an IRA. And,
So when you lived in, that was in Ruston, Louisiana,
Mhm.
you worked for Louisiana Tech
Tech University.
as a printer.
Mhm.
You guys lived there how long?
5 years.
5.5.
Okay, so you bought that house for 67, you said?
Yep.
And you turned around and sold it when you left?
We sold it for around 72, wasn't it?
I
I
forget.
got a little profit on it. Because we had to let it go too, because we wanted out. We were
Right.
getting ready to leave.
Right. So then you moved to...
Over next to you.
Archer.
Yeah, you were, I was going to say, I couldn't remember if you were Archer first or
Yeah,
second
yeah.
to Archer.
You're right.
And you lived there for...
Oh, just a year or so.
Yeah, maybe
Just
2
a year or
years.
so.
And what did you do when you were living there?
Oh, worked in a print shop up in
I worked at an insurance company.
insurance company.
Oh, wow.
Had a nice job, nice pay, and everything.
And do you remember what year what that was? Because that's when Dean got married. I remember he was living in the apartments right there
He
near
was right
you.
across from us.
Yeah. That was in, Dean got married in '86.
Okay, because that would have been about 5 years then after you were at Louisiana Tech.
Mm-hmm.
So you were in Archer for a year,
Mhm.
then you moved to St. Cloud.
Mm-hmm.
Lived in St. Cloud for...
Not very
Well,
long.
between staying at your place for a month or so there, then we went down to Green Apartments
Apartments.
for
Then we
like
bought that
6
house.
months or so. And in the meantime, we kept looking around, and then we finally had another deal there. That guy wanted $140,000 for that home. We offered him, like $95,000 or something, and he took it. So we did about the same thing there.
Okay, so you moved there in about 86, 87 probably.
And we moved in here in '89.
86, and it was 89 we moved in. So we were
Okay.
about 2.5 years there.
So you worked, when you were moved to St. Cloud, you worked out at, what was the name of that place, that travel place that you printed brochures and booklets for?
Southeastern Academy.
Southeastern Academy, which is no longer,
No, doesn't.
not there anywhere. So you worked there.
And I worked at the school system.
That's right. That's when you
She
started
got-
working.
Well, she got the cleaning jobs too,
Yeah.
and we were both doing them. One year we made, $14,000-$15,000 on the side. We made $10,000. We got $200 a week. But we had to work every day of the year at that cleaning that
Dairy Queen.
Dairy Queen. But we cleaned that a little over half an hour. So basically, through the week, we only worked a few hours and got $200.
Wow.
But it was a rat race. And then we went over and cleaned the bank 5 days a week. after that one got another thing. Now I'm working a full-time job out at this other place, and she's working a full-time job over at this
School.
cafeteria.
And so when you sold that house, what did you get for that?
97,000, I think it was. No, 112, wasn't it?
I have no idea.
I was thinking we paid 97, got 112.
I can't
We made a few
remember.
$1,000s on it, but the time with you pay off the realtor and the whole 9 yards, you know.
Yeah,
percentage.
we'll be here this year.
So then you moved to Sweetwater, which is where you're at
Yeah,
now,
which we
Which is-
24 years this year.
just outside of Haines City. Wow, you've lived here that long now.
yes.
Yeah,
24 years.
I couldn't get her to move, that's why.
we
Wow.
tried,
Well, we tried. We went up into Georgia and South Carolina and looked around, and
but we wanted
but
something
it-
like this.
we wanted
couldn't
something
find
like
it.
this that we didn't find anything.
Right.
The ones we found were cruddy. They just weren't nice and clean like this is. And
There weren't that
coated-
many.
well, they didn't have coats. You could have a trash next to you.
Right.
People junk laying around the yard. In here, you can't do that. You have a car stand, you can drive it over 3 days, they can haul it away if they want.
Right.
Here, it's strict coats. Your yard has to be mowed. Even if your house starts to look mildew, you got to get it clean.
Well, you live in a place like that, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
you got coats and,
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
Melly, can you think of some more good questions? Even-
Well, you can talk about your mom being homecoming queen, a cheerleader. Your dad used to work at a donut shop after football
The
games.
football games, all, yeah.
So let's go back to high school years. So in high school, how
I
many were in
used
your
to go
graduating
down-
class?
Yeah, no.
When I had to leave Chatham, and I was a freshman when I went, or sophomore when I went to Little Guy.
So,
And I got a job at Isley's. At lunchtime, I would go down and work. And then after school, I would go down and work at Isley's until we closed at 9 o'clock.
Every day, it's every day.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's your schoolwork.
Yeah, how'd you do your schoolwork?
stayed at
Hey,
home.
When did
school
you-
wasn't that hard back then.
And when did you practice cheerleading?
I didn't cheer down at Lodi. We were rivals. at
Oh,
that.
that's right.
Oh, yeah. No one's there.
I'm not going to cheer for this school. I never could get, you go to a new school and
Yeah, you just don't feel the
Well,
same.
probably you wouldn't even been voted on, because you got the student body always voted on the cheerleaders back
and
then.
nobody knew.
Yeah. Yeah.
Girls would come out and do their cheers and different ones, and then they'd vote on them and say, we'd all go in the auditorium and say,
Wow.
or did it, Spencer?
I
did they
don't
do that
think
in
I
Chatham?
went to many of the games because
So when you were at Chatham, no, you went just your senior year to Lodi? Or your
junior.
senior year. So your sophomore year when you were at Chatham,
Yeah,
you were a cheerleader.
yeah.
For football, did you have football at Chatham?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So for football, basketball,
Football,
for
Well, I don't remember really cheering for football. I think we mainly did it for basketball.
I don't think we had cheerleaders out on the sidelines for football. Huh?
Yeah,
just
we
basketball.
did for basketball.
Yeah.
Oh my, yeah.
yeah.
I can remember, he's the peaches, he's the cream, he's the captain of our team. Yay, Nettie!
Yeah, there was,
Oh my, they had all kinds of little ditties like that they would sit and holler. And
Now when they cheer, it's like,
oh
Well,
yeah. Oh.
It's totally opposite.
yeah, it's dangerous.
But
Yeah.
That too.
back then, sports was everything that the town had.
Yeah,
So that we had a basketball game, I would say 80% of the population was in the gym. And the aisles would be full of fire, people would have went nuts. The aisles, after the seat, if you didn't get there an hour ahead, you couldn't get a seat.
Right.
So you sat in the aisles or you stood. And they used to stand in the back row up and they had these air ducts that would come in. When we'd score a basket or something, they'd pound on them. Oh, it's deafening out on the floor. We come out on the floor one time and both the other team was getting waiting to come out. And the crowd stood and roared for 10 minutes. I had goosebumps.
yeah, but honey, how big were those gyms?
Well, no, they were tiny.
Yeah,
Well,
they
you
were tiny.
could shoot a regular shot from mid-court. You know,
Right.
it wasn't. In some of the gyms we played in, the foul lines actually lapped onto the center court section.
Wow.
You know,
Yeah, they were just,
but it didn't make a difference to the people. They,
Sure.
Oh,
Yeah,
definitely
they-
the entire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And most of the games were pretty good. There was only a few teams that were weak, and our coach would empty the bench on Nellis.
Yeah.
He never walked over. There wasn't any of this 70 to
Killing
3
other
games.
teams, yeah.
Yeah.
And what about your dad working at the bakery?
Oh yeah, when I was in high school, my sister worked at a bakery in Elyria. And as soon as the game was over, I'd get in the car and drive up to Elyria and go into the bakery, and it would be 11 o'clock, and there was an old German baker in there that did all the baking at night. And he would probably bake till about 4 or 5 in the morning, and then I would clean up after him. But while he was baking, I was like putting bread in an oven and taking it out and wrapping it in little wrappers. And we had trays that he'd have of donuts, say. And I would take 50-pound bag of powdered sugar and put in a mixer and mix that up with like canned milk, I think it was. I don't know all this stuff. And then I would just take a tray of these various rolls, and I would just take my hand and wipe it and just go up and go over top of the rolls. And of course, he made me scrub my fingers with a brush. I mean, he was a good old German cook, stuff like that. And he said, eat all you want. Well, that first couple of nights, I got so full of eating donuts and glazed junk and stuff like that. Now, I'd swear the rest of the year that I worked there, I never had one. I didn't even want to look at them. Because glazed donuts, you had to dip them and put them. Oh man!
Oh,
and in the
yeah.
meantime, run back over to the oven and take them. And when he was done, he'd have a stack of trays, probably 4 foot high, big old trays that he cooked on, the various things in the oven and stuff. And he just stacked them up. And when he left, and then wherever he was at, there'd be dough on the floor and stuff like that all around. Where he just was in a hurry, didn't go. Then he'd leave, and then I cleaned up. And it was better to been clean. And I'd scrub in a thing there, and it would get the stuff like caramel come out of those, and you have to scrub them. And I'd soak them and scrub them all, and sometimes it'd be, the day crew would come on and be working, and I'd still be finishing up out there. Yeah, it'd be child labor law, should have been, because I know I went 10, 12 hours. But I got paid a decent, let's say it was $1.50 an hour. That was big money. You can make $5. That was good money. So I was
But then
happy
you
to have that.
After football games,
Huh?
you talked about your ankles would be swollen over.
Oh yeah, I would. Sometimes I'd sprain an ankle. I had weak ankles, and because I do it in football and basketball, I'd sprain them, and I would just leave them taped because when you take that tape off, that boom, out she comes. Then I'd soak them in ice and stuff, and by Wednesday of that week, they'd be back down to normal again. And I wouldn't sprain them every time, but most of the time, so I never took the tape off till I got home that night or the next day. So I didn't go to too many, a lot of kids go to different restaurants and hangouts and stuff like that. And I didn't get to go to too many of them, but I was very happy to have the extra money if you had a date or something, you could take her to the movie or something. What was a movie to get in, honey? 25 cents?
Probably.
Something like that. You could get a milkshake for 15 cents or 20. And gasoline was, I can remember it was 18 cents a gallon.
Hamburger was £3 for $1.
Yep.
Wow.
Holy cow.
You could get 3 loaves of bread for $1.
Oh yeah,
Wow.
Gallon of milk was,
I don't remember
Oh,
what
I
that
don't know.
was.
Most of the time it was
Nice.
farmer's milk.
Wow.
You just went and got it from some farmer somewhere,
yeah.
picked it up, and you kids grew up on that farmer's milk down the road. Mark,
Yeah.
I used to go down there and buy it by the
Yeah,
gallon.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you'd have that cream at the top, which your mother would always take off to cook with and so forth. But at the top of the whole jug would be solid cream. Off the milk would just come to the top.
What a difference in the taste, though. I grew up on that, and then when we got married, then we had to buy milk. It tasted like chalk to me.
Yeah. Same, we just go out and get eggs out of the chicken coop. Dad butchered at least 2 hogs a year, so we never hurt for anything, ever wanted to. And Dad had a good job anyhow, so I didn't realize it. I would have said we were poor, thinking we were poor other than food and stuff, because Mom was so strict on. I'd get like 4 or 5 plain white T-shirts, 2 or 3 pair of Levi's, and some regular sweat socks, white sweat socks, and one pair of shoes, and that would be it every year to wear to school and so forth. I had one pair of dress pants, one pair, and a couple dress shirts. That would be it. You know, that's all you. But everybody just had
What
that.
did girls wear to school? Dresses, skirts?
Yeah,
She
I mean,
wore.
you weren't allowed to wear slacks?
no.
No.
No, when she was a little girl. Tell them that. Your mother made the.
Oh, my dad worked at a mill, and they put stuff in feed bags, they called them. And
Grain
they-
out of there.
Yeah, and they were made out of all kinds of material, and Dad would bring those bags home, and Mom, I wore underwear, dresses. Mom made us all of our clothes out of those.
They would have flower designs.
Oh,
that
yeah,
have
we
everything
got,
on there.
oh,
Beautiful.
I'll take that back, I want. Yeah, that's what I wore to school, was,
And of course, if you look at her toes, which everything was passed down. So Evelyn would get shoes that were way too small for her, but had nothing else to wear but them, and
yeah, we
crumped
went
all her toes
barefoot.
one
As
over
soon
the
as
other.
it got hot enough, we were going barefooted.
Oh yeah, I did.
All
all
summer
summer.
long.
I could run them down on a stone sidewalk, or stones.
It was hard when you first started, but then
Yeah.
a couple of weeks you were
Yeah.
running on top of that stuff like.
Yeah, crawling around the trees and what have you. We had a great childhood. I can't imagine, and I'm sure compared to today's life, I could go anywhere at any time. My mother and father never worried about anybody attacking me or doing anything to me or anything, or any girls or anything like that. It just didn't happen. Of course, we had no dope. We had no marijuana. If we did, we surely didn't know about it where we lived at. In fact, a few of the kids would smoke a cigarette, or I could smoke corn silk. I would make a corn cob pipe and get the grass would, when it dried up a certain kind, would be hollow, and we'd take a corn cob and drill a little hole in it and hollow it out, and we'd get corn silk and dry it out and put down in there and light it and just puff on it. We thought we were big shots. And Mom would let me do that, but if I'd ever got caught with a cigarette, oh, Lord. Well, our coach, if in high school, if you got caught with a cigarette, now listen to this, a bottle of pop, you didn't play it for a couple weeks.
Wow.
And if you didn't play sports, it was terrible. That was the worst thing could happen to
So
you.
how big was your graduating classes?
Mine was 24, and it was the largest class that ever graduated from Spencer.
Yeah, that was,
We had 12 boys and 12 girls.
that's the same thing, I can't remember.
Even
for sure.
Lodi, as a new school, it was pretty small graduating
Well, it
class?
wasn't a new school.
No, it wasn't a new school. No, we just had a small class.
They were just trying to, they took the whole county and took about
Yeah, we
8 of
had-
the schools and put them in with, and split
Yeah.
them into other schools.
I could have went to Medina or Lodi,
Lodi.
or I could have went over to Spencer.
Spencer.
And I didn't want to go to Spencer.
We were dead rivals. I mean,
So I went
the
to
worst
Lodi,
kind.
but we were still rivals.
How did you get to school?
A bus,
I walked, it was over a mile.
And you got to ride a bus?
yeah.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that he drove buses in that time.
Well, we were allowed cars.
Uh,
One boy, for some reason, I don't know what it was, he could bring a car to school. I guess he must have lived out where the buses didn't want to go or something, or physically something was wrong with him. But that was the only car behind the school.
Wow.
In any area, the teachers parked in one little area. And of course, hell, there wasn't a dozen cars there, because probably some of them lived right there in town, just walked up to school. And so they didn't even have to bring their car. So wasn't they worried about anybody going out and getting killed in a car like
Right.
they do now and everything else?
So when,
That was how many years ago?
two.
53.
so there was obviously no TVs in your house when you were growing up as kids. When's the first time you had TV?
Yeah,
Yeah. The first TV Mom and Dad got was about that big.
How old were you?
Oh, gee, I was still home then.
High school?
I said I was a freshman or something when Dad got a TV. Let's see, that would have been the mid-40s. I graduated in 52.
But Dad liked to watch wrestling.
Oh, my.
So
And if
we
Dad was
didn't
watching
have any
wrestling,
choice back then there might have been what? 3 stations?
Mhm,
That was all there was.
yeah.
And the pitcher was black and
Went a
white.
little about that wide, about like that.
And no remote.
Evelyn and I, first television, got off one of her brother-in-laws, and it was round. Like that, about that big around. And you'd be sitting there, all of a sudden, you'd go, I said, we'd run up and flush the toilet and do everything around the house, move things around, and had a tendency, you ran wires from, and we can run around the room moving it till, it's okay, yeah. One time I set it down, it would change again.
Yeah. Well, like I say, there were only 3 stations.
Yeah. When I was there was a bar in 5 Mile over, and he'd gotten a pretty decent sized television with had a good reception and everything. And those kids would go over there, and we had to sneak in because if he saw us, he'd chase us out. And he'd always find out we were in there when we get excited and holler or something.
Yeah.
When we'd see something, what the hell are you doing? Get out of here! You know, and he'd chase us back up. We'd ride our bikes 5 miles just to see that. You know, that was awesome. You know, we got a television over there.
Yeah.
But how many kids, you know, like they don't, telephone, we had to,
Oh, you had a crank one? You had
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, and it was a party line. I mean, you'd get on there and somebody else would be talking, you might have to wait till they got done talking.
The house,
You could hear somebody else talking.
the house I lived there in Spencer, it had lights then, but they had just put them in. We had gas lanterns still left on the walls in all the rooms. The gas lanterns were still up there. We had an outside toilet, and
Yeah,
then they had put an inside toilet in.
So
But
when
we
you were
still-
young, there were you went to an outhouse.
Yeah, we had one inside, but there was no tub.
Oh, no. Well, we ended up getting a tub and
Well, when I grew up with Mom and Dad,
yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So
same.
you took a bath in a.
in the kitchen, once a week, Saturday night.
Yeah. And you didn't change the water.
No, might add some more hot water to it.
Yeah.
So 15 kids would
Well,
take.
they weren't, you know, when I was
They were
growing
all
up.
dead.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah,
You're probably
half
in
of them
about
were
it.
gone.
Yeah, there's probably
Yeah.
about a dozen there with it.
No.
Well, no, 15, maybe 12, 11. I went over there and sat, and they had planks on chairs going down to the table
Yeah,
for,
that's-
you know. And I sat between 2 of the bigger eaters in that house, Chubb and Boo, which
Chubb
is
Goody.
Donald and Walter. And I sat between them.
That was their real names, Donald
Yeah.
and Walter.
Yeah, Donald and Walter.
Yeah,
Well, they-
he was confused when we got married,
Yeah.
because everybody had a
Everybody had a
nickname.
nickname. And so they passed the mashed potatoes down, and Chubb took and piled something on his plate about that high, and I took a spoonful out and put it on my plate and handed it over to Boo, and I think he might have emptied the thing on his. And then there was some others going around, you know. Well, then they had pork chops. Well, Chubb takes about 2 pork chops, slams them on top of the potatoes, and I took one and put it on my plate. Hit it to him, he got 2 or 3 off, pass it on, you know. Here comes the gravy, and then her mother always had 4 side dishes. And I got this spread all around my stuff, and by the time I was looking around with the salt and pepper, and these guys were almost done. Because you wanted seconds, you better get that first one out of the way.
And us girls, we had to wait on the table, and then
Yep.
when we got everything served, then we could sit down and eat.
Why do you think I proposed? And her mother was the
Man.
best cook in the world, and I'm thinking, oh, I've got all this coming. Her waiting on me, best food in the world.
So really, all the
Homemade
boys
bread.
would sit down, and you girls
Oh,
would
yeah.
have
Yeah,
to
we
serve
had
all
to,
that food
Make
up.
sure
Oh,
all the
that-
food
this-
was on the table.
This is the way, and the old man was sitting up there saying, pass this down here.
Wow.
And I'm telling
That's
you,
rough.
Yeah. Wow. And then you probably had to clean it all up.
Oh, yeah, but we had fun. We'd sing, carry on out there in the kitchen. We had one of those pumps, you had to pump the water and heat the water.
and nobody had to really, the older boys took care of the younger boys. One of them got out of line, or Satz's mother. I saw Chubb knock one of them clean across the room because he said something back to his mother. You never talk to mother like that. Bam! I mean, it
But
was just,
my youngest brother, Inky-
Gary was. Oh, Ink
Oh,
was.
Gary was, but when Inky was born, I would bathe him. I would just like take care of him, you know. And same way with Barb. When she was little, I would,
they didn't have dolls, so
Yeah.
the kids were dolls.
like a doll. I would change her clothes 3, 4 times a day, clean her all up.
So when we had our baby boy, Evelyn was right at home, baby. Yeah, she said, hey, listen,
Well,
just like home, baby.
Yeah, but it was a little bit different.
It amazed me. When we first got married, she scared me because she slept so sound. And she said, well, I had to. I was sleeping in bed with two other
Yeah.
girls, and it was just a single wide bed for crying
Sure.
out.
Or
So-
a regular bed.
Yeah. Well, I could set her up in the bed and let go over, and she'd fall over. Never wake her up.
Because you
We
see
had
people
Cindy.
moving around you all the time.
Yeah. We had Cindy, and Cindy was in another room, and Cindy would go, eh.
Yeah, but that house
Out of
was
that
cold.
bed, she'd come and say, Did you hear Cindy? I'd say, I don't believe this.
Yeah.
What a difference being a mother. Yeah.
Wow.
Anyhow, those were the good old days, I might add.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to be raising you kids now.
No.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure
And what
is.
the cost of things too now,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
When
Of course, you make more money now.
yeah, you do, but still, when you kids went to school, you didn't have to worry about a $30,000 student loan of any kind because we could get between you getting and working and us helping and so forth. We got every one of the kids went through school. Nobody had to pay anything that I know of back.
No. And probably when you guys were growing up, probably
I-
your friends, none
Yeah.
of their moms worked. Probably the only
I
people
know.
that worked were mostly
Oh, yeah, I know.
dads.
And not many went to college.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
I
probably
think there was
not.
only 4 or 5 in our class. David Firestone and Sage and I and Keith Wallers, and I think there was a couple girls, Ruth Carey, and
They just didn't go to
they just didn't go.
college.
The rest of all these girls stayed
I
home.
mean,
and
you
just-
could get a job.
Oh yeah, they could go to Highland Farm Insurance Company, hired 300-400
Yeah,
women
that was
every
a big
year.
place, and
Home office.
Wow.
And if you worked, you'd get a good job. You know, I baled hay for a farmer. I had to be there at like 6 o'clock, help clean up with milking the cows, and we'd go out and bale hay till 5 o'clock at night, come back in, and I got $5 for the entire day. And that was good money. I was about a sophomore in high school. And 100 kids would have taken the job, and there was like 4 of us doing it.
if I remember right, when I went to check about Social Security here, she gave me a write-out of all the years I'd worked. The first year I worked, I only made $1,600 and something. And she said, well, that was, I said, I looked at that. She said, well, that was a fair wage back then, you know, just,
When I went to High Farmers, I had $85 a month salary. $85.
can you imagine?
And I got paid once a month. And she had to, when after we got married, and then especially after Cindy was born, I might have gotten a raise to 115 or something by then. And she had to budget that money out. She'd put in envelopes for, well, it'd get near the end of the month, and we'd run out of milk with maybe 4 days to go for payday. And her and I go out and pick up pop bottles. And you can get 2 cents out of a pop bottle, and we could get a milk for 15, 20 cents. So we'd find enough pop bottles along the road and take them up and go in and get a quart of milk.
Yeah.
She had the rest of the food, but we just didn't have that. And
Right.
and if we had an emergency come up of some
we
kind,
never starved.
no, never. Oh, I grew a garden. We just do everything we could, and I hunted and fished, and we ate it. But I never considered it a hardship. I remember
No,
something
we
happened
never-
one time, and we didn't have the money, and it was only $85 or something. And I went up to the bank and got a loan for $85, and they charged me like $3.50 if I paid it back within 2 or 3 months. And I had to sign a little agreement, the whole 9 yards. It was for insurance or something, and we didn't have the money. So I borrowed it, and we paid it back in 3 months.
That was the only time we never.
I know.
But we never.
But
no, we-
you did it. You did what you had to do. Yeah, Ellen she stayed home with you kids until you got into going to school.
Yeah.
Or everybody, after
Even when
Dean
I
got
was-
into school, I got her a job there
Yeah.
part-time,
Yeah, I was just
doing the papers and
still
stuff.
part-time.
Boy, did that help out with the family income. In fact, we started even putting money away. It was getting And I'd gotten to where I was getting decent pay there, for the printing.
And your house payment was only $100 a month.
Hmm?
And your house payment was only
Yeah.
100.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
Well, when I first went to work for him, I was getting like $3.85 an hour, and that was good money. $3.85. And so some guy in Pennsylvania offered me like $7.50. But after we'd been there about a year, and I went in and told John, I'm going over to an interview for, I want you to know, I'm going over to Pennsylvania for an interview for printing tomorrow, and the guy has offered me pretty decent money. He said, how much, Ned? And I said, well, about damn near double what you're paying me, John. He said, wow. And he said, well, nothing. He just said, well, I'll see what I can do here. And that night I got a telephone call about 10 o'clock. He said, can you come up to the office here? And he said, I've been calling all over the state, and I'm paying you about half of what you're worth. He said, if I double your pay, will you stay here? And I said, no doubt, we love it. So I didn't even get to go over to Pennsylvania. I just stayed, called the guy up and said, hey, I can't come. He's offered me my decent pay here. So that's how I got a 100% jump in pay. But
Wow.
boy, what a difference that made for us,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So,
Well, I think that's quite a bit. Don't you think so, Melanie?
I think so.